You're listening to the Super Expander podcast. Aligned goals are pivotal for expansion. You don't need me to tell you that. But what happens when your flame weakens? What really happens when it totally goes out? Reignite your goals starts with awakening to the emotions that pull you further and further away. Letting go of your shame, denial, and frustration, and figuring out why your body is resisting your goals are the key to success. Regulate your nervous system, release the blocks, and reassess your path forward because your goals are ready to be reset and reignited. Hello, Super Expanders. Welcome back. How is your soul feeling today? How's your heart? So it's been busy around here. And I was in a conversation. I was actually interviewing with someone over at Entrepreneur Magazine, and we were talking about reasons why people don't hit their goals. And I thought, we should have a whole podcast conversation about this too, because there's so many reasons why we don't hit our goals. But I think there's this sneaky thing that comes up when we are working towards something bigger. We want to break through, and we hit that threshold, which I think is often, if you've ever read that book, The Big Leap, Gay Hendricks refers to it as an upper limit. And when we hit that upper limit, there are some reasons why we hit it. We hit this safety threshold in our body. It's like, is it going to be safe to go over to the other side? And we'll oftentimes start to sabotage ourselves. We create distractions, play out old patterns. And one of the really big reasons is because I think when we start looking at these bigger goals, we actually have split energies around them. Like we have this desire to create the thing, whatever it happens to be. Let's just say you want to make $1 million, okay? You want to make $1 million and you're like, I really want it. And, logically you believe that you want it. But if you're going to go take the actions to become someone who creates $1 million and has $1 million business, there are some big shifts that are going to have to change. You're going to have to let go of pieces of you that you currently are now in order to step into that. And there's fear around that. We start to think that there's parts of us that think that we don't really want the thing that we say that we want. Okay, that might not make any sense, but stay with me here. So you have this goal that you want to reach. Let's say you want to make $1 million, but there's part of you that thinks, if I'm going to do all the things that it takes to make $1 million, it's going to be hard. It's going to be a lot of hard work, which means I'm going to be really tired. I'm going to have to give up a lot of things that are currently part of my life. Now, I'm going to have to work more, possibly. I'm going to have to learn new things. I might have to give up certain relationships. I'm going to have to make sacrifices. And so when we subconsciously start to be aware of these things that we believe might have to shift or change, sometimes they will have to change and sometimes they won't, but we start to have a lack of safety in our body because it's uncertain and change and we're not sure. And so there's really a very split energy of actually wanting to create the thing and not wanting to create the thing. So something that I always suggest to my one-to-one clients, especially that I work with, we sit down and when we outline and start looking at what it is they want to move into, one of the questions I always ask is, what are all the reasons why you wouldn't want to achieve it? And there's usually a little bit of silence. Like, what? What do you mean? Of course I want this thing. Of course I want to be on stage and have a TEDx talk. Of course I want to write a book. Of course I want to make $1 million. And I'm like, really? Can you think of any reason why you might not want to actually create that? What are all the obstacles that you're going to butt up against? What are the changes you're going to have to make? And then start paying attention to how you actually feel in your body. It's like, who do you need to become? And especially when we start looking on this identity level of who we need to become in order to have what it is that we desire, that's when things kind of start to get a little spicy and we start to shut down a little bit. And that's where that split energy, it's like, ooh, I don't know. And it's also, there's this piece that will come in, and it's like, if I make those changes, if I become that person and then I don't actually hit the goal, how am I going to feel then? If I go through all of that suffering, perceived suffering, and I don't get there, how am I going to feel? So going through this exercise and actually doing it almost like on the 5 levels of why, like, why don't I want to ask, why wouldn't I want to hit that goal? And then asking again, peeling those layers back, like, why do I feel that way? Like, why? The more we start asking that question of why, the more we really start to get down to the actual fears that are there. And usually at the bottom of all of it really is the fear of being seen failing. It's not actually that we're not that scared of failing. It's the fear of being seen failing. I have a question for you. Have you joined the Super Expander free mentorship community? If not, what are you waiting for? Stop what you're doing right now and text the word mentor to 202-918-3235. Text the word mentor to 202-918-3235. I send out weekly tips and inspiration to help you grow your business, to step into your wealthiest, most highest self, to harness your full potential and live an exceptional and extraordinary life. And the best part is, it's really me sending those messages. So text me, say hello, and send me your questions. When I arrived at that kind of mind-blowing piece of like, oh, it's not actually the actual failure, because it's like, who cares, right? If you fail and no one knows you failed, it's kind of like, who cares? You can get up and keep going, right? That's why little kids, when they fall down, they just get right back up and they shake it off and keep going. It isn't until, they start to become aware of the reactions of their parents, like, oh, I should feel embarrassed, or, oh, I should be crying now, that the fear of falling starts to really come in, and they start equating a lot of different things to that. And so you can really start to look at that and apply it to your goals. And really, when we start to be like, oh, if someone saw me failing in that way, like, what are the real implications of that? Okay, so I set this big goal, whatever it happens to be. I'm going to write a book, and I either don't finish it, or I do finish it, and I launch it out into the world, and it's a flop. Yeah, it bruises the ego, right? But I think the journey of going through the process, you're not going to give up at that point anyways, right? You're just going to take that feedback, which is when something doesn't work out the way that we want it to work out, there's always this feedback. There's the learning journey and process that gets to happen inside of all of that. And then we get to decide, right, whether you want to keep going and refining, or whether maybe we tried it and the thing wasn't for us, and that's okay too. But I promise you, that result is exponentially better than doing nothing and sitting back and having regrets that you didn't try. Failing publicly is exponentially better than doing nothing and having regrets. There's never been one person I've ever heard say that they regret trying. So the next time, or your next big goal, or maybe you're in it, maybe you're in the pursuit of that next big goal right now, I want you to stop what you're doing and just think about all the reasons why you might not want it, so that you can start to get really clear on the obstacles and the resistance to the things that you're going to butt up, the things that you might try to self-sabotage yourself on, so that you can get ahead of it. You can see it for what it is, and maybe even not have to experience it, because you have that clarity, you have that newfound knowledge of where a split energy might be holding you back. And you might just find that you start hitting your goals in an accelerated fashion, and also in a much more calmer state of, peace and regulated nervous system, because you are able to create the safety in your body to take the big steps, to make the big moves that you need to do, that you need to make in order to take those courageous actions and and build an extraordinary business, to build an extraordinary life, to go after, to get on the stage, to launch the podcast, to write the book, to do the TED Talk, to make the $1 million, because you are limitless in your capability to anything that you put your mind to and that you put all of yourself into. So I hope this serves you. I hope you find this useful, and I'll catch you on the next episode. Like a fire needs oxygen and fuel, you're not meant to reach your goals alone. Your missing part could be as simple as finding the right community. And if it's not my community, there's definitely the right one out there for you. If you're looking for a place to start, check out the link in the show notes and let this community help you breathe in fresh oxygen.